Hello, and welcome back for another a VR run-through being filmed within the XRcast Studio on the Penn State Behrend campus. Today we are continuing to look at the VirtualSpeech program here. We've gone through a bunch of these modules on the side here, and we're just down to the last three. So today we will be looking at the body language one. That's a cool concept. Watch yourself presenting. Gestures, posture, and appearance. Answering questions. We've already seen the eye contact one. Breathing exercise. Okay. So let's just jump right in with the gestures. Alright. Gestures, posture, and appearance. Open and closed. Start to the left. So, exit, I guess begin.
Gestures. Use your hands to illustrate your presentation. Don't be afraid to use big gestures. What seems like an exaggerated movement will look perfectly okay to your audience, and if it embellishes the point, then it adds dynamism to your presentation.
Okay. So I do like, obviously, this is the mirror over here. So you having an ability to see yourself, as well as get used to the concept of having a bunch of people here that you're going to be being expressive towards.
Before we move on, practice a couple of overly big gestures in the mirror before continuing.
Woo. And then boom. And if that and that clashes. Alright. Pretty good.
It's a cultural thing, how much you use your hands in your speech. Some cultures are naturally animated when they speak, others are more reserved. You need to balance it. Too many wildly exaggerated gestures can be off-putting, but you certainly don't want to appear stiff and wooden. By channeling your nervous energy into movement to illustrate the point you're making, you will find fewer nervous physical tics creep in. But make sure your movement is positive, that it has some point. If you move across the stage or across the room, it should be to take your audience to a different place in your narrative. If you are using hand gestures, it should be to show how big or how small or how expansive or how emotional something is in your presentation.
Very cool.
In this next short exercise, practice talking about what you did last weekend, making big hand gestures on the key points. While speaking, slowly walk around the front of the room and spread your eye contact to all members of the audience. Make sure you don't go outside the boundary set on your VR headset. This movement can help to create interest and drama in what you're saying.
I am sitting in a stationary boundary right now, so I'm not able to move, but I do like the suggestion. I mean, you do have space here in this room, so might as well use it, walk more towards that table, but I'm not going to be able to do that today. But yeah, I like the concept of talking about the past weekend and being expressive with the story that you're telling, getting familiar with this feeling of telling a story to a group, and then being able to replay as many times as you need to. So that was a good one, just getting familiar with gestures. Again, I like that mirror. That was helpful. Now let's see. Again, we've got a mirror.
Posture and appearance. First impressions count, so your arrival at the podium is critical. Remember to take your time. You have done your breathing exercise and now you're ready to take the stage. Don't rush. Get calmly into position. Take time to arrange your notes and any props, and then turn your full attention to the audience. Here, posture is extremely important. When you stand full on, shoulders back, looking directly at the audience, and importantly, smiling, You exude confidence. You command attention. When ready, and only when ready, deliver your killer opening line. Negative body language, on the other hand, includes slouching, looking down, which conveys the impression that you aren't confident, or even that you don't care.
Alrighty, let's get started. Again, I think it's valuable for students even just listening to the narrator while sitting here and having everybody looking at you. It makes you a little bit more comfortable with doing nothing. When you're in an actual meeting, if right now is the moment where you're just supposed to listen, just looking attentive and listening, that gets you comfortable with that concept. So I do like it.
Time for a short exercise. Think of an opening line you can use for a presentation, perhaps in a recent presentation you did. When ready, deliver this line in the mirror with a good posture. Your shoulders back, smiling and looking directly at yourself in the mirror. Say the opening line clearly and not too quickly.
So in this one, you can't see a body. So it's a little bit difficult to really get an idea for the posture. But I guess the person would know, the person who's doing in my seat at this moment would understand. So yeah, good example to deliver your intro line. Get comfortable in the mirror with what that looks like. Again, good exercise so far. So I guess that will be all for the posture and appearance. Kind of similar to gestures, but specifically the posture.
Open and closed body language. An open body language can help you engage your audience. Are you saying, "Look, I'm approachable, you can talk to me"? Or is your body saying, "Don't bug me now, don't interrupt me, I'm thinking"? We refer to this as open or closed body language. And it's obvious, really. If my arms are outstretched and my hands are reaching out to the audience, my stance is open. If my arms are folded, my hands turned inward, and maybe I'm looking away from the audience, my stance is closed.
So talking about stance.
Here's a short exercise to emphasize these two. Use the record button in the room to record yourself briefly describing the place that you grew up in. First, use open body language. Keep your hands apart, body pointing towards the audience, with positive eye contact given to each audience member. Your feet should be around shoulder width apart. Now repeat the same story with closed body language, with your arms or legs crossed, avoiding eye contact and your head down. Afterwards, stop the recording and watch yourself back, comparing the open and closed body language positions, as if you were an audience member.
Okay, so my challenge is I don't know where the record button is. It said use the record button in the room. What does that mean? So I don't want to click finish because I'm pretty certain that's going to obviously be done with the exercise. And that one's the exit. I'm not too certain. But the exercise is a cool concept. If you are able to find a way to record, just talking about last weekend or telling a story or doing whatever, and then having the student record that, and then afterwards do the exact same story, but just do it with different body language, and just notice when they rewatch just the difference in how they feel when they're listening to the story. I think that would be a good exercise to illustrate the point. So we would have to figure out exactly how to record. But So that was open and closed body language. Now let's look at the challenge of hands.
The challenge of hands. Hands can be a real challenge. What do you do with them? Down by your side is fine. But if they stay there the whole presentation, you will look rather wooden and stiff. Putting them in your pockets, if you have them, for example, is a definite no. Now your body language is saying that you're a little bit too relaxed, like you don't care. And if you have something in your pocket to fiddle with, it can get very distracting for the audience. Here are some things to avoid with your hands. Nervous flickering of the fingers, for example, wringling your hands, fiddling with jewellery or your wristwatch. And if you are forced to present behind a lectern, there may be a compelling urge to hang on to it for dear life, gripping the edges tightly, or running your hands around the edge. Try and avoid this.
Okay, so thinking about what you're doing with your hands as you're at the lectern.
Here's a short exercise for you. Practice summarising your favourite TV show, and while doing this, keep your hands fixed by your side. Don't use any hand gestures or put your hands in your pockets, for example. Simply keep them relaxed and to your side.
So at this point I would do that. And the point I guess they're making is obviously, being comfortable, being able to speak without having to be fidgeting or moving your hands or something. So, okay, this one was pretty good. Not too extensive in terms of the exercise, how interactive it is. I got to find that record button, but if there's a way to record, then it makes this all very, very cool to tell your story or try with the expressive hands and then being able to rewatch that afterwards and just seeing if your hand movements are lining up with, as an audience member, where you would expect the emphasis to be. But yeah, these are all very good. So I'll head back. That was the gestures, posture, and appearance one. Now let's take a look. I think we've already done this one with the answering questions. Maybe not, actually. This is a little different. So opening up for questions. It is always difficult in a presentation to open it up for questions. I feel like I stutter on that part oftentimes.
Opening up for questions. How many times have you seen presenters ask the audience, "Any questions?" only to be followed by an uncomfortable silence? It happens all the time. There are a number of ways of overcoming this, and body language is one of the things that can help. How? Well, firstly, signal to the audience that you are about to ask for questions. People need time to think.
Okay. I mean, I think that's a good piece of advice.
Here's a short exercise for you to try this out on. Look at your audience in this room. Pause with an open stance and say, "Okay, I've covered quite a bit. You may have some questions." Then raise your arm and hand fully and ask, "So, who's got a question?"
I've covered a lot of material here today. You all likely have some questions. So, does anyone want to get started? If you got any questions? Could have done better there. I would have to practice, repeat.
By demonstrating how you want people to signal that they have a question, there's a far greater chance that someone raises their hand.
Oh, and putting the hand up. I forgot about that. Oh, that's a good point.
And the higher you raise your hand, the higher theirs will be. It's called mirroring.
I'm going to have to use that. I like the concept of, signaling you likely have some questions. And then saying, "So, who wants to get started? Who has a question?" And holding your hand up. I like that. It's a good tip. Opening up, and then let's see, answering. Okay, so this goes back. We have already seen this one in the media training module or business communications module a while back. So, yeah, you're in this room completely surrounded by cameras. There's lights. There's people fidgeting and writing and whatnot. But in the other exercise, they actually were asking you questions. Let's see what this exercise has.
Answering questions. It's important when you get a question from your audience that you show that you are listening to the question. Give the questioner your full attention and eye contact. Listen without interrupting. If necessary, ask for clarification. Once you have the question, pause for a couple of seconds, look thoughtful. Your body language should indicate that you think this is a good question. Now repeat the question to the rest of the audience, paraphrasing if necessary. This does two things. It ensures the rest of your audience have heard the question, and it gives you a few extra seconds to collect your thoughts on how you will answer the question. Now the key thing. Answer the question as if the whole audience had asked it. Your answer should be addressed to the whole audience, and make sure you give the whole audience your eye contact. Don't be tempted to give your answer just to the person who asked it, as if it were a private one-on-one conversation. You can also go back at the end of your answer to see if there was an additional follow-up question. However, you don't need to do this. You really want the next question from a different person to build a more interactive Q&A session.
That was a lot of good information in that narrative as well. Let's see what this exercise has, but yeah, I like how it went over when someone's asking a question, what are you supposed to do? Immediately when they're done with the question, what are you, how are you supposed to act? You're supposed to, don't be scared to take your time. Take your time to repeat the question. When you are answering the question, make sure that you're referencing the entire crowd. It makes it more personal for everybody, as if they all asked a question. So
let's put this all together in a short exercise. First, talk about a hobby you have for around 1 minute. At the end, ask if there are any questions. When the avatar asks the question, use the tips we've explained in this module to deliver an answer to the question.
Okay, I'm not sure. This might be ChatGPT, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about hiking trips and traveling into the woods. I really enjoy doing that, using tents and having campfires. Let's see if any of this is able to be picked up on by the AI. And if so, I might expect that there are questions about camping and maybe where I travel and where my favorite location has been to go, maybe I could see. So let's see what questions.
Tell me more about what got you interested in this hobby and why you started doing it.
Okay, so that was more of a general question. What got me interested in this hobby and why I started doing it? So I would say that's a pretty good answer. It makes you think about it for a second. And then typically jump right back into a little bit of a longer response. So good stuff. Okay. So we've done the gestures one, we've done the answering questions one. This was similar, the environment, to the media training exercise we had done earlier and everything. But I do like the emphasis on, before the media training was more so just getting comfortable with the concept that there's a bunch of people around flashing cameras. It was more like the distraction of the media. This one actually focused on the technique for answering questions. This is how you engage with the person asking, yada, yada, yada. So that's good information. Let's head on to the watch yourself presenting one. All right, let's go for large. Very cool. Does this... Okay, so let's see. I guess you might have to remember to do the recording Video record yourself, enable sound distractions, begin. Okay, I am up here now and I'm doing a presentation. I'm going to be expressive so that we can see in the video that I am being expressive, and then I'm able to watch myself. I am looking this direction, and then I'll also get a chance to look that direction. This lectern is in the middle, but maybe at times I'm pointing such as that. Then going to the next slide. Okay, let's see. Stop analysis. Yeah, these analysis tools are really cool. Being able to add my audio recording. Okay, I am up here now and I'm doing a presentation. I'm going to be expressive so that we can see in the video that I am being expressive. So again, that is the audio, and I could save that. There's also this video. The last time I clicked on this, it didn't include audio, so I'm not sure if there's a way. There has to be a way in the back end on the learning portal to be able to have access to both, like a video with audio on top. So let's see. But yeah, so I mean, I can watch as I'm presenting, so that's worth something. I would hope that there's a way to loop in audio or something, but even still, it is helpful to be able to see emphasis on certain things, looking certain directions, going through slides. And I mean, you could definitely tell here where my focus was in that moment. So that is valuable for the students to see themselves. Oh, that's how it looks. When I'm looking that way or when I'm looking that way, it comes off to the audience member like this. So this is a good perspective. But I think that is all for this one. Let's see. Guess leave room. That was the watching yourself present. Very cool. Eye contact. We have seen that one earlier on. I can't remember exactly when, but we saw that exercise before. Okay.
Breathing exercises to help you deal with nerves. We all get nervous when the presentation really matters, even the most experienced and accomplished presenters. In fact, the adrenaline that is generated by our fear helps create our nervous energy, which, if channeled correctly, can add significantly to the success and energy of the presentation. It goes without saying that the correct preparation and rehearsal of your presentation will build your confidence and reduce nerves. But even so, in the few minutes before you approach the stage, uncertainty and nerves can take hold. In order to slow down your heart rate and fill your lungs with the air needed to project your voice, complete this short exercise to control your breathing when you're waiting to make an entrance. Step 1. Raise your shoulders and stand tall. Make sure your head is held high, your hands are down by your side, and you are looking forward. Step 2. Take a deep breath. Breathe in through your nose, a little deeper, and hold it. Step 3. Count slowly to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And step 4. Exhale through your mouth, making sure you drop your shoulders slightly. As you do this, imagine you have finished the presentation. It went brilliantly. The audience is applauding you. It feels good. Now repeat the deep breathing 4 or 5 times more. You should notice that your heart rate has stabilized, that you feel calmer.
Okay, so good exercise. I do like this, just getting the student in, thinking about, it's okay to be nervous. You likely will be. This is how you channel it. This is a technique for dealing with that.
Remember this state. Anchor it. Leaving your hands down by your side. Gently but firmly press your thumb and index finger together. Concentrate on this calm feeling. Now During the presentation, you can return to this state just by pressing your thumb and index finger together.
Interesting. Okay. So that was the body language module, talking about gestures, watching yourself, eye contact, breathing exercises, looking at answering some questions and how you can come off well. So, yet again, a really good module. I like this accumulation of exercises. I think it ended up, if I were a student going through this, I think I would say that I learned something. And if there was some sort of assignment to accompany this, a worksheet afterwards or whatever, that would make me really reflect back on this. I think that would be good. So yeah, that was the body language module there on the VirtualSpeech program. This was another VR run-through put together in the XRcast Studio on the Penn State Behrend campus. There is more to see of this program, so definitely stay tuned, and adios.